Barca were building the game in back in the first place. Barca were using sole pivot and he was being covered by Jamal Musiala. Barca centre back split alongside goalkeeper at the edge of the penalty box in the first place. Bayern were pressing with front two in the first place and they were Mane and Sane. Bayern frontmen were operating wide due to the wide operating of the Bayern frontmen. Bayern frontmen were able to easily press Barca centre backs. But when goalkeeper had the ball, Bayern's frontmen were not able to close down goalkeeper because Bayern front two's aim was to keep Barca's centre backs under pressure. So Barca's goalkeeper was without pressure and he was distributing the balls easily. You can see Bayern's frontman position was high and they were tracking Bayern defensive midfielders. Because of Barca's offensive midfielder Pedri and Gavi operating in the half space, now Bayern's frontmen were high and defensive midfielder was marking Gavi, so Barca's fullback was easily receiving the ball on the right hand side. Due to Bayern left-hand side players Mane and Sabitzer being in the inside channel, wide areas were being opened and Barca's wide players were making good use of that space. Because Barca's goalkeeper's ball distribution is pinpoint and accurate, so Barca's goalkeeper was easily finding fullbacks and wingers. Barca's goalkeeper's ball distribution is one of the greatest strengths which helped Barca to build a game. Bayern were very defensive in the first half. With Bayern in defensive mode, Barca's fullbacks were pushing high. In open play, Bayern were pressing with Solman and that was Thomas Muller. Thomas Muller was 2 vs 1 in front of Barca's centre-backs. With Barca's centre-backs having wide speed, Muller had covered a lot of distance to close down Barca's centre-backs. Muller's position was central and Barca's centre-backs were in the half space. So with Muller's position being central, the centre-backs of Barca could easily carry the ball in the half space. As we discussed, the pivot of Barca was always under pressure from Jamal Musiala, so when Barca's centre-back were carrying the ball, Jamal could not make direct commit on the centre-back. If he did, then Sergio Busquets going straight free, so Jamal did not commit to the centre-backs, as long as the centre-back could bypass pivot, but then the centre-back of Barca would have gone a long way. As we discussed, Bayern's wingers were dropping in and making the mid-force. Mane's role was to cover the fullback of the Barca by staying wide. With Mane being on the fullback, Mane was getting bit stretch, and because of his stretch, a hole was being created between the defensive midfielder and Mane, and Bayern's midfield was getting stretched. Due to Bayern's midfield being stretched, Barca's centre-back were finding the winger by taking penetrative passes. Because of the wide zone was compact in the open play, Barca's offensive midfielder Pedri was unable to receive the ball, so Pedri was forced to drop in. Due to Pedri's drop in and playing as a temporary fullback, Barca's fullback had to license push high. Pushing the fullback high caused the Dembele to move into inside channel and Dembele was dragging the wide midfielder. With 5 players committing on Dembele, space was being created for Barca's fullback, and on the other hand, while Dembele was receiving the ball high on the pitch, he was tagging fullback and Barca's fullback was ready to go behind the defense. And this move leads to Lewandowski's header chance. Because Bayern fullback was out of position, Marcos Alonso was free to put the cross. It was very good cross and Lewandowski took the header, but Bayern goalkeeper saved very well. Don't forget Gavi's awareness. He kept the ball alive in the final throw of the opposition and Gavi was immediating until the ball was out of play. In the first place, Bayern will start with a short pass from the goal kick. Bayern back four was straight when Bayern was building the game. These are the position of Bayern fullbacks and centre-backs. Bayern were using double pivots in the first phase and it was Kimmich and Sabitzer. Barca's frontmen were central and compact in the first phase, so Bayern pivots were centrally isolated. Barca had 4 players centrally around Bayern pivots, so Bayern were centrally not very active. Bayern's goalkeeper was playing square passes because pivots were isolated and Rafinha was ready to press fullback. On the other hand, Guy was covering these 2 Bayern players. In the end, Bayern were struggling in the build-up phase. In open play, Bayern were building the game in back 4. Barca were pressing with front 2 in open play. Gavi and Lewandowski were ready to press Bayern centre-back. While Gavi was pressing Bayern centre-back, Lewandowski was blocking the lateral pass by staying between both centre-backs. Lewandowski was disconnecting Bayern centre-backs by being in the middle of the both centre-backs because Bayern fullback was under pressure from Rafinha and Bayern's pivots were under pressure from Barca's midfielders Busquets and Pedri, so Bayern centre-backs were being forced to do back pass. Bayern's fullbacks were operating little high. In this way, the fullbacks were in straight line alongside of the defensive midfielder. So in this way, Bayern's second line was of 4 players. On the other hand, Rafinha and Dembele were dropping in and playing in the wide zone, and Barca also had second line of 4 players. Bayern and Barca's second line was 4v4 players, number neutralized in midfield, and this was Barca's 4v4 high press. Pedri and Busquets were marking Bayern's pivots man to man, and fullback was always under pressure from the wingers. So Bayern were unable to handle this pressure and Bayern were being forced to do back pass. Bayern's goalkeeper was always under pressure, so he had to clear the ball at the first time. Due to Barca's high press, Bayern were moving deep and the frontmen were also playing in their own half. So when goalkeeper was clearing the ball, then centrally Müller versus Christensen and Araujo, and there was a clear winner in that battle. And on the other hand, Barca's fullback were too tight on Mane and Sane. But when Barca's frontmen were unable to close down Bayern's centre-back, then Barca was in trouble. Now see Barca's two midfielders were on Bayern pivots, including the defensive midfielder Busquets and Barca's winger who was deep and wide on the fullback. So as Barca's frontman guy was failed to close down Bayern's centre-back, pass came from between Rafinha and defensive midfielder. Bayern's wingers who were a little high in the build-up phase, but Muller and Jamal were always too short. Because Barca's defensive midfielder was out of position and center of the pitch space was being created, Jamal and Muller were ready to drop in and there was a combination between them and Mane and Sane was on the attack. When Thomas Muller was dropping in, Barca's centre-back was ready to commit as Barca's defensive midfielder was out of position. If the centre-back failed to stop Muller, Jamal was ready to use that hole. If you start foot race from same level with Mane and Sane, they will always beat you. Because Barca's midfielders Xavi and Pedri were involved in the high press, then Barca used to realize about the loophole. When the ball turned over, Busquets was alone in front of Bayern's midfield as Xavi and Pedri were high. Winger Rafinha and Dembele wide and Bayern's defensive midfielder have central space and time to penetrate Barca. Now talking about Bayern's defensive weakness, both Bayern fullbacks were pushing high when Bayern had the ball position. Due to the high push of both fullbacks, both the channels were getting open. If Bayern were losing ball position high on the pitch, Dembele and Guy were using wide areas by combination play, literally in transition Barca Bayern की गांड फाड़ रही थी. Now talking about Bayern's second goal, Jamal Musiala was generally operating in the half space. In the second half, Jamal was wide with progressive fullback Mazraoui and dropping winger Sane. They were dragging Pedri and Dembele as Mazraoui and Sane operated wide. Due to the wide rip of Pedri and Dembele, two wide players from Barca were engaged on the right hand side. Mazraoui was excellent with the ball and resisted Dembele and Pedri's press, and he played the pass to Jamal. Because two players of Barca were out of play and Barca's right hand side was completely open, Muller drifted wide and dragged the centre-back Araujo, and space was created between centre-back and full-back, and Sane's beautiful run through the middle of the defense. In open play, Barca were building the game in back four. In open play, Bayern's winger were playing in the wide zone by dropping in. Bayern were playing with mid four due to both Bayern's winger dropping in. With wingers Sane and Mane operating in the wide zone, Bayern had an extra midfielder who could cover Barca's winger. Barca's winger was always under pressure in the wide zone because of Sane's drop in. As you can see, Bayern's winger was drifting wide and marking Barca's winger, and Bayern was defending in 4-4-2 formation. Bayern's three players were in the wide zone. Sane, Pard and Kimmich were drifting wide. It was 3 vs 2 down on the pitch as Sane, Pard and Kimmich had wide drift. As you can see, Bayern's right back was ready to drift wide if Bayern's winger was failed to close down Barca's winger. Barca's offensive midfielder Pedri was drifting wide. When Pedri was drifting wide, both Bayern's pivots were also drifting wide. Pedri was 2 vs 1 down due to Bayern's horizontally wide drift of pivots. Bayern had no fear of their defensive midfielder getting wide drift. A wide drift from Bayern's defensive midfielder left Xavi free on the far side in the half space zone. But Bayern had no fear with Xavi being free. Their only aim was to restrict the movement of Barca's offensive midfielder and winger by compacting the wide zone. When Bayern's fullback was committing to the Barca's winger, space was being created in the wide area due to the wide drift of the fullback. Xavi was ready to take a run behind fullback, but because Bayern's shape was compact, Dembele was unable to penetrate Bayern's midfield. You can see on this that Bayern had presence of 4 players in the wide zone and how compact they were. So Dembele was unable to penetrate Bayern's midfield and he was losing ball position. Dembele tries to penetrate Bayern's midfield but the ball is intercepted on it. Bayern's number 25, who was playing as a striker, was holding the ball for a while when the ball came from midfielders until Bayern's forward supporting run. After that, Muller's return pass to the midfielder and the ball was being played through the middle of the defense. It's a typical Bayern. When the ball is intercepted, Muller will hold the ball and then a pass and through ball will be played to the midfielder. So when the ball was intercepted, then the winger Mane and Sane knew that the ball would come through in these areas.